what a year it has been. Kojima finally released Death Stranding, a smash hit for his company, even though I probably won't like it. The developer behind Dark Q is a great human being, and DLC and money grabbing is still going on, especially from shitty douchebags like Bethesda and their precious Fallout 76. For me personally, it's simultaneously been the best year in my life, but also the worst. Working 2 jobs at once and studying is not a great idea, but I've been moving around more due to starting to play Pokemon Go again. And subsequently, I've also lost some weight. Game-wise, I've been spending way too much of my money on games I have not enjoyed, like Remothered, which is just a piece of fucking shit. But some I've enjoyed more than I thought I would, and those games are very likely to appear on this list. As previous year, I've gone in a newer direction of having games I have played this year, not necessarily games that released this year, so some older ones may also make a cameo or appearance. Not only that, but I have expanded the list to also include the game I look forward to the most in 2020, plus one other pretty huge surprise. As we approach a new year, a new beginning for us all, let's take a look at the top 10 games I've played this year. Starting off with one of the games I've looked forward to the most, we have my personal biggest disappointment of the year, Dark Pictures' Anthology, Man of Medan. Made by the creators of Until Dawn, a game I've recently platinumed and played through 2 more times, a game that was so fucking great in comparison. In UD, it actually felt like you played a classic horror movie with all the perspectives. It was genius to say the least. Man of Medan felt wholly different. The setting is great, and the story starts off with a bang as you play a soldier on a ship going home after being at war and weird things suddenly start to happen. Soldiers begin shooting and you're left in confusion about what's going on. As you discuss and create theories on what happens, you may inch closer to saving all of the characters you play in the main game. But that positive anticipation takes a dive as soon as the main game begins. None of the characters are interesting enough because they never get any considerable backstory or character arcs. So if and when any of them bites the dust, you don't care about.
What a shame. He was a good man. What a rotten way to die.
You've only known them for like 20 minutes, which was one of the things that I liked the most with Until Dawn. The tension combined with the huge risks. Although the game shines at times with its headfuckery and surprisingly great atmosphere, it doesn't live up to the expectation I had going into it. And as soon as you blink, the game is suddenly over, without a satisfying ending that only left a sour taste in your mouth. If this is how the next games in the series are gonna be, expect me to not play them at all unless they go on a deep, deep sale. A damn shame. It could have been amazing, but it just wasn't. Yeah. There really are no words to accurately describe the clusterfuck of failure that is Anthem. Although Fallout 76 continues to be a reminder to us all on why the Black Plague might not have been all bad, Anthem is a considerable lesson in how a bad leadership can destroy a very good idea. Yeah, the game was playable without a doubt. It had some cool moments as well, like the flying mechanic, one of the reasons it really blew up E3 2 years ago. But it's not only the game which is the reason that this effing disaster is the worst game of 2019. Guys, I loathe Kotaku. No one does it more than I. But there is one article worthy of your time, and it's the massive one about the insane working conditions surrounding Anthem, written mostly by Jason Schreier with the help of former workers at BioWare, leaks and other sources. Now, Jason is still a massive narcissistic moron, but he can write some good stuff if he tries. Allegedly, the game had been in pre-production for 5 fucking years, and the guys working on it didn't even know what they were working on before seeing it E3 2017 alongside us all. That should tell you what a disaster this game was and still is. I could have had NBA 2K20 on here for its slot machine mechanics, or pretty much any other cash grab game, FIFA, but the ramifications of the failure of Anthem is more weighty and important. What happens to the future of BioWare? What will happen to Dragon Age? I've got no words, just utter and complete disappointment. As I wanted my list to remain a bit positive and to show that I'm not slowing down anytime soon, I've decided to introduce a new category in this top list. The most anticipated game for the upcoming year. So for example, this year we'll have the most anticipated game of 2020. Already, 2020 seems to be in pace to be a stacked year of game goodies, with stuff like System Shock Remake, The Last of Us 2, Cyberpunk 2077,
You're breathtaking!
Dying Light 2, Halo Infinite, Ghost of Tsushima, Dragon Age 4, Elden Ring, Spiritfarer and Nioh 2, whose demo I've recently played, and Jesus Christ, I'm going to become a full-blown hobo after all the money spent on these games. Now I know you know how I started out. I know you also know how much I love Persona 5 and how appreciated I feel when I see how many of you watch it. Naturally, I'm going to stick my tushy right down on my couch from minute 1 when Persona 5 the Royal releases. Minute fucking 1, okay? And I'm not gonna stop until the game is beat. Or maybe I have to because I don't want to die, you know. Alas, that's not the game that I'm looking forward to the most. No, sweet children of mine, there is another. I, like many others, have been waiting, suffering in uncertainty and doubt. Our minds have been blown so many times before with short cinematics and demos, and 4.5 years ago it happened. It was beautiful to see, and now we've actually heard and seen so much from it. The summons, the limit breaks, the ability to actually play the game in a turn-based way. It all sounds too good to be true, and for once I hope that it lives up to expectations. But for now, let's jump into the main reason you're here, maybe, my top 10 games of 2019. Or so you thought. I couldn't resist taking a bit of a detour and talking about my personal game of the decade. Now this is my game of the decade, so there's a large chance that mine is not the same as yours. Games I think deserves a mention, I will mention them, but I'll keep it short, maybe one short sentence per game. And I've most likely forgot games too, so keep that in mind, okay? Super Mario Galaxy revolutionized the way we play motion games, innovated at most points and managed to capture the wonders of video gaming. Journey, short but extremely sweet, a relaxing but also solemn depiction of life, connections to other lives and the meaning of life, which all ends in one of the most beautiful endings in gaming. Divinity Original Sin 2, the best turn-based RPG of this decade. Period. It borrows heavily from D&D's setup and style and perfects it in gaming form, offering gamers an almost unlimited amount of fun and replayability. Minecraft, the most obvious game to pick if we're talking success, as it's the most sold video game of all time, being played since its release in 2009, offering both kids, teenagers and adults a game formula proved to be irresistible for when you just want to relax and build amazing things. Nier Automata, Nier Automata made me rethink a lot of things, especially when it comes to what it means to be a human, what makes us what we are, and what really means something in life. It's one of those games that will stick with you forever, until the end of your days. Bloodborne. In my top 5 favorite games of all time, easily. The beautiful Victorian setting and a huge inspiration from H.P. Lovecraft's works helped make one of the best games of all time. Polished, lengthy in gameplay and replayable with an ending that leaves you more than satisfied, both wanting more but also being at peace with the masterpiece you just experienced. Persona 5 is to me one of the most relatable games, strangely enough. The hardships of youth, building connections and becoming friends for life, going on journeys together, growing up and having to face adult responsibilities. I will always love this game. I almost get teary-eyed just talking about it actually, it's so good. There are many reasons why Dark Souls is my game of the decade, and I'll try to summarize it. In summary, Dark Souls is a long, lone journey, which is also a masterful commentary on life and facing hardships. How much a chance encounter, meeting, and befriending comrades can mean, and ultimately how overcoming challenges can make us grow, improve, become the best version of ourselves in the end. Dark Souls is also one of the most impactful games ever made, according to many also inventing Souls-like as a genre. The beautiful world of Lordaeron showed us how you can sometimes find beauty in sadness and isolation, but also happiness in loneliness. It's the most impactful game of the decade, because it changed the way we think about games as art. And just like how it changed my life for the better, it will continue to inspire a wide variety of games for many years to come, engraving itself forever into the tale of history. The Evil Within may have been released over 5 years ago, but I didn't really give it a fair chance until this year. The slow start paired with 24 FPS on consoles and general performance issues kept me far away from it at first. I played for 1 hour and decided that was enough. However, a couple of months ago I had nothing to play and I was excited for some horror, so I thought, what the hell, I'll give it another go.
8 hours later.
I was completely lost in the experience, sucked into a world I almost missed completely. I will say that for the record I have not yet completed the game, but I'm doing my best, so I will as soon as possible. The game combines the third-person camera with excellent Silent Hill-esque psychological horror and atmosphere to create twisting worlds and unreal areas. High-tension gameplay when you're forced into a corner are some of the highlights this game has to offer you. The gameplay itself is very reminiscent of Resident Evil, with a few new mechanics and innovations. It also has some stealth/chasing sections here and there, mixing up the expectations of the player enough to keep them interested, as well as the classic addition of jump scares. With a nice blend of horror and action, The Evil Within is a steady new IP made by Shinji Mikami, who also made Resident Evil, unsurprisingly enough. If this is what the first game in the series has to offer, I really have to check out the second game that I also have available on the PS4. Maybe it will make an appearance on the top 10 games of 2020 list. You never know. But for now, I'll tell you once again that The Evil Within does deserve your time. The characters may be somewhat adequate, but in the end it still feels like a solid entry in the horror marketplace. Expecting literally nothing from The Messenger, I got my hopes just blown out of the earth into the sun before exploding in a sea of violent flames. I mean this in the most positive way. I got the game during a sale for only $10 I believe, and so far it's really been worth it. Originally released last year, The Messenger sets out to create a pixel-styled platformer heavily inspired by Ninja Gaiden on the NES. Judging from the time I've spent playing it, I'd say it succeeded. The game was developed by indie company Sabotage Studio and is their first completed project, which testifies how passionate and skilled these developers are. The game's story revolves around the protagonist, the Messenger, which is sent to deliver a scroll to the top of a mountain after his village has been suddenly attacked and subsequently destroyed by a horde of demons. As previously stated, it's a platformer in heart and soul, with a few additional mechanics involved, such as cloud stepping, allowing for an additional jump before attacking an enemy in midair. But as you progress through the game, more and more mechanics becomes available to you. The writing is where the game shines the most though, and it's fully packed with hilarious passive aggressiveness and sarcastic humor throughout. Without a doubt, The Messenger is one of the finest indie games to be released these past years. I'll also say that it's a game that's impossible to play without audio, as it also boasts a fantastic soundtrack made to sound like a true NES game, and it nails it. I can't recommend the game enough for those that likes old school platformers, and I really expect these guys to make more amazing titles in the foreseeable future. I look forward to it. If I didn't expect anything from The Messenger, I don't know what I expected from Death's Gambit. Less than anything I believe. For €7 I bought it during a sale, while hardly knowing anything about it. After just 15 minutes I was hooked and I couldn't put the controller down for 4 additional hours. It was something that immersed me so much that I couldn't stop playing until I had to sleep. The formula has been used before, but GG uses it in ways that somehow feel fresh enough to warrant giving the game a chance in the first place. In short, the game is a platformer that has a highly stylized pixel graphic look, while the combat itself is very reminiscent to Salt and Sanctuary. You pick a class in the beginning of the game and then you're free to change and build the character however you'd like, forming them as you progress through the game. It takes a while for the gears to begin turning, but as they start turning, they go full speed for the rest of the adventure, and this includes the soundtrack as well. Although a majority of the NPCs can be quite uninteresting, at least that's what I felt like, aside from maybe 2 guys, and the immense amount of bugs and rough around the edges feeling, the game is a great platformer. If this is what to expect of White Rabbit, the studio behind the game, I have no doubts that the future looks bright for them, as long as they'll continue to improve and create great games. One of the best experiences horror-wise I've had this year is the 2016 game Layers of Fear. I have already completed it 2 times over, or to be more accurate, my friend have completed it while I watched her do it. While not having played that much of the game, I think it's still reasonable that I have ground to stand on when I say that it's an amazing horror experience, especially considering the price, which currently sits at €20. Layers of Fear was developed by Bloober Team, which also made Blair Witch.
I like it!
The gameplay mainly boils down to walking around, examining stuff, searching for collectibles and hidden items, and finally, the game's main draw, opening doors. These doors are what's really interesting to me, as they function, well, like doors, but the twist is that the same door can lead to different outcomes. As you exit a room you previously went into, you're greeted by a new corridor, hallway, or something completely unexpected. These doors are interesting because they offer something unknown to the player. Different doors also lead to different outcomes story-wise, and it accrues into one of 3 possible but admittedly simple endings. One drawback is honestly the game's length, which can take anywhere from 2 to 5 hours for one playthrough and 12 hours for completionists. And I agree that it could have been a bit longer, yet it still feels like a complete game when you've finished it, and I still felt like my money was well spent, as I paid around €7 for it. I've also bought and begun playing Layers of Fear 2, a very likely contender for next year's list, and I highly recommend you to pick up and check out Layers of Fear for yourself. Who knows, maybe you'll get positively surprised. Let's get this over with. Subnautica as a game is something I enjoyed immensely this past year. Playing it for hours upon hours on end, fascinated by curiosity and the fear of the unknown, the greatest fear of them all, of what lurks in the depths of the deep, dark sea. As a game, it's fantastic. The gameplay revolves around slowly exploring different biomes, upgrading your gear and crafting new helpful equipment, and the main focus, getting to know which planet you're on and what the F has gone down here. Why is there a crashed spaceship mere kilometers away from you? Why is there abandoned life pods scattered around the planet? And why is the whoops almost revealed too much? Every now and then you get a message that reveals something about either the plot or the more likely scenario about waylaid life pods, which you can then visit to find out about the mysteries surrounding the past and present. During this time you can also collect ore, fauna, plants and wildlife to expand upon your inventory and quell your thirst and hunger. If you don't want to explore the story at once, feel free to build large fortresses and bases in whichever place you'd like, as long as you provide the base with energy and oxygen. The more you explore, the more you may use when you're building your base, and removing or replacing parts is smooth and problemless. It is simply addicting, and I haven't even mentioned how beautiful and serene the game looks, while also having varied and an apt soundtrack for whatever biome you're currently in. The only problem I have with the game isn't even in-game, it's that I got it for free from the Epic Store. The only good thing the store has going for it is the free games, and I'll talk more in depth on why that is in an upcoming video. But let's leave it like this for now, alright? If you're still in doubt about the game, give it a try, and I can almost promise you that the game is worth it. I didn't believe it either at first, but was quickly convinced by Matilda. So thank you, Matilda. In some aspects, it really gave me a new experience unlike any I've had before. I hope it can do the same for you. Whoa, what the heck is this? A Souls game on a Sphericalpha top 10 list? Not ranked higher than 5? What? Well, fact is, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is a masterpiece actually. The gameplay is precise with a great blend of difficulty, intense showdowns and the classic Souls style lore that we've come to love. What sets Sekiro apart from other Souls games is the hard focus on blocking and parrying attacks, very unlike former Souls games, and their generally bigger focus on dodging attacks. It's fun to experience the game like this, struggling very much at first, before it clicks and everything becomes like a coordinated symphony. The gameplay relies heavily on one of the game's core mechanics, the prosthetic arm, and furthermore, the grappling hook. This is a double-edged sword when it comes to designing the world and levels. On one hand it allows for fluid movement and freedom, But the negative side comes when you realize you can just simply skip large parts of the game, just run or grapple over whole areas. When you know this, you can breeze through the game in under 2 hours, easily, which I did when I went for the Platinum trophy. And here comes another issue. The game has almost zero replayability after going through it 3 times. There's just nothing else to explore or try. That's pretty much the only real complaint I have, even though it's kinda a nitpicky one. The game itself was a blast. I had an undescribable amount of fun while blindly exploring what the game had to offer. But it's really not a title good enough to compete with the top dogs Dark Souls or Bloodborne. I will finish off this spot by saying something positive. I really like the Japanese focus, the areas and level design are solid and the music is great. Story holds up extremely well, and especially if going for multiple endings. And the game can easily give you 65+ hours of amazing gameplay. While I had hoped at first that the game would be a sequel to Bloodborne, I was positively surprised by an entirely new idea. An idea that was executed in a masterful way, and I can't wait for Elden Ring. I am a massive idiot. I've had The Last of Us unopened, plastic still there and everything, sitting in my shelf for over 4 years. But I hadn't touched it. Until 2 years ago when I started playing it during our legendary Halloween themed LAN parties. Heck yeah. Put the game down again, but this year I finally said, fuck it, I'm going to finish it this time. And that's what I did. After a longer game than I had first expected, I was left speechless, truly. I had no words to utter, and I could only look back on what was one of the best experiences I've had when it comes to games. By now, most of the gaming world knows about, or have at least probably heard about, The Last of Us. Understandably. The gameplay is mostly split into 4 sections, doing puzzles, combat, which involves shooting and fighting, stealth sections and walking, where combat and stealth sections being the most common. The centerpieces in the game, and what carries it, what makes it as interesting as it is, are Ellie and Joel. 2 of the most well-made characters in any game, really. Talking with each other, fighting each other verbally, comforting each other during harsh times, and supporting each other during these 20-something hours. It's not only the gameplay that makes it great, it's the story itself. Managing to pull on your heartstrings with a flick of the wrist. Going from full-on action-packed combat for survival to a touching scene is The Last of Us' specialty. I will state that for the record, this isn't a 10 out of 10 for me. It's great, no arguing about that, but it's also stale at times. Moving ladders into the right spot 15 times isn't an interactive fun puzzle, it's mostly tedious padding. But that can be forgiven, and it does make sense considering the story of the game. While not perfect, it was and still is an amazing creation, being one of those games that pushes the limit of gaming further and further, which in the end benefits all of us. I'm hoping that The Last of Us 2 can live up to the same quality that The Last of Us introduced into the gaming world back in 2014. We'll see the coming year, if it does. It's back, baby! Better than ever when it comes to gameplay, story, graphics and customization. Let's act like those pesky microtransactions doesn't exist, because they shouldn't exist in my goddamn Mortal Kombat game. Ugh. Anyway, MK11 feels like an improvement over MK10 in almost every way. It has a better, more interesting story mode, the gameplay is tight and less complex, which I can appreciate, and the customization is something I've been wanting in an MK game since its first inception. It feels like the gameplay is more akin to the second game, which I think they were aiming for, going back to their roots. Also evident by the killer launch trailer, now featuring a remix of the iconic music that we've all come to love. Thank you, whoever made this happen, truly. Despite the brutality, yes you would, that's right, these games depict, I've loved them since I was around 11 years old, and I still do to this day, a testament to how fun MK games are. They always find ways to make every entry in the series feel new in some way, and I appreciate their efforts for doing so. Now I will say that while the story is great, it ends on a sort of self-defeating note, so keep that in mind if you ever plan to buy the game. Also, I haven't played online very much, it's just not my style when it comes to fighters. Mostly because I simply enjoy playing against the AI and practicing, or then playing against friends. Yeah, I'm that guy. A large addition this time around is the Crypt, which has gone from being a maze-style experience to a full-on adventure mode full of secrets and puzzles. It is great fun, and the only thing missing would be to incorporate a character creation of some sort, and we'd be set for perfection. Although the game has its flaws and there are quite a few of them, it kept me occupied for over 70 hours, making it well worth its asking price. The developers seem to show interest in improving the game and making it the best it can be, and while I don't agree with this practice, the base game was still an extremely polished product, aside from the Towers of Time. If NetherRealm can keep riding this wave whenever they decide to make MK12, we'll get ourselves a masterful piece of fighting game magic. The survival horror genre is back and stronger than ever with the entrance of Resident Evil 2 Remake. This $60 completely remade remake of the second game was a total smash hit, and the earlier doubts I had about the game, one which was if I was going to enjoy it, was blown out of the hemisphere after playing for only 10 minutes. 10 minutes! Okay? The introduction shows off the fantastic graphics made within the RE engine, and the engine is a great ground to build upon in the future, and after hearing talks of rumors about a Resident Evil 3 remake, this could be the momentum that Capcom needs to realize that modern games doesn't need microtransactions to be profitable. Now I have a small note that needs mentioning. I have yet to actually complete the game. Admittedly, that's very two-faced of me. Yet the game is simply marvelous, polished to a T. Great voice acting, amazing atmosphere throughout and tight controls, with some added replayability as you can choose to play as both Leon and Claire, each having a slightly different experience throughout the journey. One major change which you all know about, we've all seen the memes, the vids. The Thomas the Train Engine scary ass mod. Everything between. The change to make Mr. X follow you around the entire time, smash through fucking walls right in front of you, making you birth a brown in your pants is brilliant. You can never really relax, and I thought that it would quickly get more annoying than interesting. But as time passed, it only became progressively more horrid and tense-filled as you try to navigate the station and Raccoon City while Mr. X occupies your mind. His footsteps are the only thing revealing his position, and if you aren't careful, he may just smash open the door right in front of you. And as of this month, Capcom has also announced RE3 Remake, which I found out after writing the script at first, so I had to change it to mention that, yeah, that Resident Evil 3 Remake remaster is happening indeed. All this aside, Resident Evil is a phenomenal game, a game that manages to keep the magic of what we all felt back in '98, while still coating the game in fresh paint and more precise gameplay. It's a testament to what games can be as long as they aim for greatness. This year I have a whole 3 games that I think deserves at least a mention. This year, again, I bought a DS, finally. I just couldn't resist the urge to try to recapture that young energy and nostalgia that's so hard to relive today. I managed to achieve some of that, so I'm quite happy about the investment. The third game I'll mention is a very late buy, enough to warrant it as an honorable mention. So now that you know, let's see what the honorable mentions are.
This way, sir.
Kaede, I'll go north. You follow them through the other way.
It finally, really happened! One of the games I looked forward to the most this year was Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, and it blew every expectation I had out of the realm of man. I'm sorry, but I'm so excited. I was skeptical at first. I'm always skeptical since the disaster that was version 1.0 No Man's Sky, but Igarashi together with his team managed to deliver on their promises and got us the future of Castlevania. Bloodstained. That's right, it's the future of Castlevania. Why Bloodstained is Game of the Year in my book is simply because it was the only game where I sat down, played the game without worries or musts throughout the entire year. I was cast back into the early memories of my gaming adventures. Simply having fun with a game without trying to fill out a checklist on what to do. I didn't know what to expect when I started playing, and after a massive amount of hours playing blind, I was satisfied by a good enough ending to the game. Now admittedly, the game has some faults. The NPCs are largely pretty uninteresting and stale, there are several bugs in the game and some areas look quite rough. These aspects of the game didn't bother me enough to break the enjoyment I had with it, almost at all times. There is one large nitpick that I have to bring up though. At one point in the game you get an item, and naturally if you've explored you know where to use it. You think, but you can't use it. You have to go to another part before going where you're supposed to go, and it feels like a bit of a long shot. I had to look it up myself in the end, unfortunately. Otherwise, grinding for shards, going back and exploring earlier parts with new abilities and finding those exclusive hidden areas, especially one in particular, oof, can't wait for you to find it. It's such a massive amount of fun, the kind I haven't felt in years. Hell, I even cracked an enormous smile when I entered a stashed away secret area, and I hope you will do the same. The game is a testament to how much Igarashi and his team still loves doing these games, and how much they love their fans, while also flipping the middle finger to Konami, who doesn't believe people can still enjoy these easier types of games. I for one couldn't be more thankful for having played this game, and I know that the future of Castlevania lies not with Konami, but with Igarashi, a future I cannot wait for. And that was it. Sphericalpha's best / worst / most disappointing / most anticipated games of 2019-2020 and the decade. Whew, that was a mouthful. I'm so thankful for all of your continued support, all your comments, all the likes, all the dislikes, subscribers, everything. You really mean a lot to me, and you're a huge reason I still make these silly videos. And for once in my life, I have no idea what 2020 may bring, but I'm ready for it. Excited to bring you more stuff you may enjoy as well. To 2020, my friends, the year of possibilities.